Sawubona. Hello, and welcome to the Beyond Hashtag 10 October podcast. My name is Lubelihle Audrey Mazithulela, and I am the host. This podcast is dedicated to the youth around the world, and its mission is to keep mental health awareness alive beyond World Mental Health Day. Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of the Beyond Hashtag 10 October podcast. My name is Lubelihle Audrey Mazithulela, and I am the host. I am super excited to be finally launching my podcast. And as someone who's very passionate about mental health awareness, I cannot wait to engage with you all as I put out more episodes out there on the subject matter. So before I get into what the podcast is all about, who the podcast is for, I would just love to introduce myself a little bit so that, you guys get to know your host better. I think it's better that way. So, like I said, my name is Lubelihle Audrey Mazithulela. I come from Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. I am also the founder of the Girl Up chapter in Bulawayo. So, for those who may not know, Girl Up is an initiative of the United Nations Foundation, and its mission really is to advocate for the rights and well being of young women and adolescent girls globally. So, this podcast is also part of my advocacy journey, and I cannot wait. This is something totally different from what I've been doing, as you guys will get to know more in other episodes. But this is something different but exciting, and I cannot wait to explore it all together with you. So, I think it's also important for me to highlight why I chose a podcast centered on mental health. So, really, I have had struggles in the past with my own mental health, and I just realized that I really do have a story to tell, a story of hope, a story of overcoming, a story of resilience, which I believe would be beneficial for other youth around the world to hear. And I would love to emphasize on that the podcast is dedicated to the youth around the world. It's not only for the youth in Zimbabwe, the youth in Bulawayo. No, I just realized that it would be important for me to open the platform to accommodate everyone, bearing in mind that we are currently experiencing a global crisis in relation to mental health. So really, with regards to who'll be coming on board as guests to keep the conversations on mental health going, I will have storytellers for sure. I also intend to bring in mental health practitioners, but activists from different walks of life, definitely, just so that they also share their stories as people, because I think sometimes there is just this idea that, all these activists we look up to are not really human, for lack of a better word, are not prone to mental health struggles and all these other challenges as ordinary people face. So I feel as though bringing in such people who we all look up to will be beneficial in keeping the conversations real and interesting as well. So with regards to the conversations on the podcast, the idea really is to provide the youth around the world with realistic approaches, not just suggestions from the blue, realistic approaches, bearing in mind the realities of life. I don't think it's fair to just bring in a mental health practitioner who's just going to be suffocating all of us with all of these fancy terms and all of these things without really considering what is really on the ground. Because going forward, the idea is to actually have an initiative on the ground which will put all those approaches into practice so that at the end of the day, it's not a thing where the podcast is just about us talking about mental health issues and just ending there. My goal is to actually have something running on the ground. And yeah, I do believe that is possible, especially if I keep connected with the guests who will be coming in on the podcast. And yeah, the other thing I just wanted to add on is the title of the podcast itself is Beyond hashtag 10 October. So the 10th of October is World Mental Health Day, right? And in my experience, I just figured that around about that time, there's a lot of mental health awareness going on. But soon after, it slowly dies away unless something just happens to spark mental health centered conversations again. And my idea really is to just keep the conversations going and seeing how best we can alleviate the dark consequences of the mental health crisis around the world. And yeah, this podcast is definitely not a first of its kind. I know a lot of podcasts out there which are focused on mental health conversations and all those nice things. I am just joining the movement as well and seeing how best I can add my expertise into these conversations while also exploring realistic approaches to help other youth who may be struggling out there. Mental health is a very sensitive topic, that much I'm aware. And having gone through therapy, extensive therapy that is, I I learned a lot about myself, and I just hope that I know for sure like therapy is not for everyone. I just hope that this podcast will provide a platform where other youth who are struggling to reach out to anyone will get the courage to speak up and just get better, because yeah, I know how difficult life gets. I recently turned 30. So I've really had a fair share of some experiences, which I'll share in some episodes to follow. But yeah, I am alive to the fact that life is tough, but it does get better. And through my story, my hope is that even if it's at least one person who just comes back and says, "Oh yeah, I listened to the podcast and it's helped me reach out and I'm feeling better," I would be really, really happy. That is really my hope. And yeah, if you have listened up to this part, I am really grateful. And I am hoping that I'll also manage to get people, listeners rather, who would be interested in featuring as guests, just to also keep the conversations going, really. I am not looking only for experts to come in to share how best the mental health crisis can be addressed globally. I would also want to talk to people, like ordinary people. You don't have to have a degree in psychology to be on here. If you have a story to inspire other youth around the world, I'll just make myself as accessible as possible. I'll put out my contact details for that to be possible, so that it's not a thing where it's an idea at the end of the day without proper execution. So yeah, I'm really, really excited and I cannot wait to engage with all of you and just hear what you think and what you would also expect, because I just don't want to be inviting people and talking about things I think are interesting. I want to hear what you guys think would be interesting, what you guys want to hear. And I am very positive and excited about this. I am just hoping for nothing but the best. So, yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, hoping to catch you on the next episode. Bye.